What's going on, guys? It's Mark from Prime Toy Media. Welcome to the weekend toy review. Today we're taking a look at Mattel's Masters of the Universe, He-Man and Skeletor from the Origins series. These are the updated versions of the classic 80s toys that I know I had, and maybe some of you guys had as well. So before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We open toys old and new, and remixed and re-educated, and redesigned and re-released and everything in between. So hit that subscribe button. But let's get into this, shall we? Starting off, we've got He-Man. Classic He-Man. And Skeletor. Can't have one without the other, right? Retro play. Really like the packaging on these. Very reminiscent of the classic 80s packaging. The cards with the bubble. You can see what looks like there's a comic book in there as well. Now these do have updated articulation. We'll get into that as we go. On the back, just like you would expect, a little bit of a checklist. Got a couple other of these figures coming in later videos. How to use his power hand and twist. So, cool artwork. Does include the comic book. Says so on the package, so it must be true. You can get these things pretty reasonably priced. I think Target has them, Amazon has them. These are the, like I said, these are the 2000 issue, 2020 reissues. Why can't I find that in the close-up? There we go. Whoops. There it is. New for 20, which meant 2020. We do have 2021 versions, and they might have updated even these. I'm not quite sure. So there was a handful of different comic books back in the day. You didn't always get the same one. This looks to be an updated comic book. I'll put a link in the description if you want to read the old comics. Amazon has Mattel made it. Maybe Mattel? There's a really good thick book, though. I'll throw it up on the screen, of all the classic comic books so that you can reread all of them that came with the toy back in the day. My Skeletor came with the same comic, so. Alright. Accessory-wise, Skeletor, Havoc Staff. That whole thing in the shot there so you can see it. There we go. Pretty basic. Got the ram's head. And then, just like the original, Skeletor comes with one half of the power sword. He-Man has the other half of the power sword. His battle comic book axe that he never really used in the cartoon, but he did use it in the comic. And his shield. Now, maybe it's just my adolescent mind, but I remember the axe having more detail or better paint, maybe. I might have to hit the edge of the blade here with some paint, make it shine and stand out differently. So the gimmick was if you combine the two swords to actually make the Sword of Power, in the comics anyway. He-Man always had the full sword anyway in the cartoon. But now, that was the true Sword of Power, and you ruled Eternia, and it was also the key now to unlock Castle Grayskull. So, if you had the Castle Grayskull set, there was a little slot, and the sword, once combined, was thick enough to unlock. Now, it looks like I'm having a little issue keeping the tips of the blades together, but it's kind of weird. Why would you have a two-sided sword anyway? It was just true to the old toy. Now, sculpt-wise, these guys look pretty reminiscent to the original. We'll start off with He-Man. You can see his face there. Looks pretty good. I'm going to throw up on the screen a picture of the old toy from the 80s. Quick Google search. so I have a comparison. I don't have my originals anymore, but just in case, this figure, unlike the newer Kevin Smith line and the newer Netflix cartoon, I can't remember what the series is called, does still have the Iron Cross, which is a nice touch. He's got a slot in the back for his half of the sword. Throw that in there real quick. Yoink. Looks pretty good. Yoink. Not a lot of paint detail in apps, but, you know, boots look good. He looks like He-Man. Skeletor, same thing. Not a lot of paint detail. Not a lot of coloring. Face looks really good. These are hard heads. The originals had the squishy heads, at least the ones I had. You could squeeze them and deform them. But looks pretty good. It reminds me a lot of the toy from the 80s. The little clasps. I remember taking those apart and never being able to get them back together. So I will not be taking these off. But Skeletor got the same He-Man loincloth. Just they're hiding it underneath the little extra piece of plastic. Articulation-wise, though, this is the stuff the ones back in the day didn't have. So his elbow does bend. Not very far, but it's something. It's got a swivel, so some sort of a ball in there. Hand can pivot. Get a good angle there. Bendable knees. Bendable feet. Any pivot to them? A little bit. Swivels at the boot, which is nice. Hides the seam. There's that action we were looking for. Twists at the waist. Can't remember if all of them or if it was later when they did the spring motion. You'd pull it back and it would twang forward to attack, but these don't have that. Shoulders go all the way around. Head spins, has some tilt to it too, which is nice. I'm gonna assume same thing with Skeletor. Elbow, very stiff because it's new. Wrist. Looks like you can replace the hands if they pop off, which is nice. Didn't come with extra hands, but maybe you can swap it with a different figure. Head, waist, knee, boot turn. Very nice. Holds the weapon pretty good, other than when I drop it. Switch it out for his Havoc staff. Still looks good. Really like these guys, very reminiscent. But what I really want to see is two things. One, if you remember, they're not quite 6 inches. If I remember correctly, they're about 5.5. So let's get them on the table here. Depending on the angle you're looking at on the camera, get a little closer. Camera's playing tricks, showing that they're almost 6 inches, but I think they're closer to about 5.5 here. Stick my big head in the way. Maybe a little over 6 3/4. So, still gonna scale okay with other figures. Forgot to show you, so He-Man shield has the ability to go on the open arm. Now, I don't remember it snapping. I remember it being a full piece, but that, again, could be a mistake in my head. Sort of power in the back, because it looks weird when it's only half a sword. And his battle axe. So, He-Man looks pretty cool. Now, I'd always found it funny was the open grip hand on the He-Man figures, the old ones. Always did that kind of thumbs up pose you can see on both figures here. And they held true to that, so that's really cool. But now the second thing that I think we all want to see, they've done various re-releases of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe characters through the years. And some of them are better than others. I missed the entire classics line, if you will. but I do have the newer Kevin Smith Revelations line, which we did a full unboxing in that before. So side by side, you can see the Revelations He-Man is significantly taller, a good inch or so. Way more detail, more proportionate to typical heroes, but these old He-Man figures, if the story's true, the Netflix Toys That Made Us series is accurate, were designed because everybody else was into 3 3/4 figures, G.I. Joe, Star Wars. So the guy that was in charge went, let's make a figure that just dwarfs, makes all the other figures look small and tiny and wimpy. So they made the muscular He-Man. You can see the difference in even like the swords from the Revelation line to the Origins. But again, the Origins is to be true to the 80s toy, which I think it does really well. Same thing with the Skeletor. You can see the updated Revelations figure. Looks really good together. I like it a lot. So, we also have eventually the Grayscale Origins castle will open. So, but that's it for this. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get out of here on a cool pick or two. And of course, if you want to see more pictures of these guys and some toys in general, go follow my Instagram. I post not daily, but quite often. See ya.